Today's the day. We're gonna start on the 32.3 window. I don't know if it's the roughest, but it's got to be pretty close. This poor car. Greg, it's probably the roughest you've seen, right?
It's a pile.
Craig's owned quite a few of them, so he's the one to know for sure. So my big thing for today is I really want to get these doors situated. I know the inner structure is welded on wrong. This side, as you can tell, the body line lines up on the back and it lines up on the front. But up here, it's got a pliers gap in it. Like it's huge, the gap is. So, as you can see, it's huge. So, I need to figure out what is wrong with the inner structure. I'm thinking it has something to do with this right here. As you can see, it's got like a piece of round rod welded in the inner structure. It's just bad. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut this the skin off of it so we can get a better look at the inner structure. And then my plan is I'm going to fit the inner structure to the body, well, as close as I can anyway, and then figure out how far out it is. So let's go get there. I'll get the skin cut off and we'll get back and try to test fit it. Edge, they added some, I guess, when they chopped it. When they moved the pillar back, it kind of creates a gap here. Like on the 5 window, I had the same problem. These guys have welded something in there, so I'm gonna have to cut that off to get the door skin to release from the inner structure. They also welded it pretty good right there. And then on the hinges, where the hinges are supposed to be, they shaved them, and I guess they forgot to turn on the gas, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to cut all that loose. What I'll probably wind up doing is just cutting all this out too. It's just bad. It doesn't look very good. I know it's inner structure, but you might not be able to see it, but I know it's there. It's the kind of deal I like to just make sure everything's good to go. So what I'll do is I'll just work my way around. I'm gonna start peeling this up with my screwdriver, and then I can come back later and hammer and dolly the edge and fix it all once it's pulled up. So let's get this thing off here. Working our way around. I got the bottom. Got that side all apart. Just gotta do this side, and then I'll have to cut where they welded this piece in. This is not supposed to be here, so I'll have to cut around this and get it loose so the skin will come loose from the inner structure. So I'll get that done and then we'll separate it. We're getting there. I'm almost ready to pull the skin off. I'll go ahead and I've been cutting around these just because you can tell where it's been welded. You can see better on this one where they welded up where the hinge used to stick out here, and they shaved the hinges and made them internal so you couldn't see them. So we're putting them back factory. So on this, I'm just going to cut a bigger piece out and I'll just put a new patch in, if that makes sense. And then already when I was splitting it, it's already starting to crack where the old weld was. So that's exactly why I was doing this. I knew it was thin. You can tell I started splitting it and just cracking. So I'm going to repair all this so it'll be all strong again. So we'll pull the skin off and then I'll show you how bad the inner structure is.
You know what? I might come and have what the hell? This is part of the hinge or spacer for it.
What, the doors? Yeah, they're rough.
Like looking at it, whoa.
So the reason I wanted to cut all this apart is none of this inner structure is welded. It's welded on the outside, but it's not on the inside. This one's got a rod in it, a round rod welded in the hole. It's like halfway welded on the other side. So I'm just gonna fix all that and make sure the door actually fits the hole. Because like I showed you before, the gap up here, it's really bad. So it ain't gonna work for this car. I'm trying to make this car nice. So I'll go ahead and get this thing cleaned up, and then we'll try to put it back in the hole and we can kind of look at how it fits, just the inner structure.
My mom
Okay, so we got this back on. When you put it in where it's supposed to be, there's still a huge gap in there. It's supposed to, you can kind of see right there that inner structure is sticking out past the body, so that's definitely been welded on wrong. You can kind of, this is not even here, you can kind of tell it's just, if you look at it right here, it's kind of uneven and weird. So I'll probably wind up just cutting the whole door top back off and then squaring the body up and then putting the door top onto the body, if that makes sense. Like I said, I got to get rid of all this. Just not the work I want to leave here, so I'll get it fixed. I did put Craig's doors on, or his driver's side door, to see about the gap on the top, and you can tell the body sticks over the door itself. Craig's is a little dented right here, but the rest of it is straight. So you can see right there, I mean, my finger is about the, I mean, you can see right there my finger width is about the gap that's it's supposed to have stock 32. So that's what's nice about having these two in here, is I can compare them. So now we're at a kind of a stopping point on that, because I need to get the body squared up before I start putting the doors on. I'll probably go ahead and cut the cowl off, and then we'll get it on a different chassis that I know is straight, and finish the doors and get the body where it's happy. Because if these bodies aren't bolted down right, I've already seen it once on the car, nothing works. It's all, the doors are off, the trunk's not happy. You got to get it on a good base first. So we'll get the frame, Craig's got a nice frame, we'll stick it on there, and I can at least get the doors hung to where I know it'll be right. We're gonna get rid of the internal hinges, the hidden hinges, so it'll be all wood structure, so I want it to be right when I go back together and I don't have to fight it. So I'm gonna start cutting this firewall out, and we'll get back when I get closer to pulling it out. I'll get back with you. A new grinding disc, we're almost there. It's just, they just welded it around it, just kind of tacked, not really welded. This one, same thing on the other side, just got a lot of porosity in it, you can kind of tell. But we're almost there, and then we'll see if she'll pop loose. Hopefully it's not welded everywhere else too, we'll see though. Well, I started prying on it, and it's welded in here too, welded to the supports, so a little bit more cutting. We're almost there.
More cut.
Oh, you're gonna kick that firewall out. Here he goes.
We're almost there.
Well, we found some Bondo somewhere. It smells like it's burning up in here. And here it comes. It's coming out.
Oh, they did the same thing this side.
Yeah.
Found some more Bondo on the other side. Boy, does he look happy.
So what they did on the other side too is they cut this out and then welded directly to this. They didn't actually put a piece back in, they just welded it to it. So I gotta cut that loose. That's why the other side looks like crap, because they hobgobbled it together. This is all welded to the actual firewall itself. So not ideal.
And it's out of there. Woo.
Original
Kind of warm.
32 firewall. Pretty crazy.
And they welding on it like a couple madmen.
Yeah, she needs some love.
Uh-oh. Looks a little bit like Billy Love.
We'll get her fixed up though.
Boy,
Yeah,
look at all the fixing he's got to do here.
Man.
Just in case you didn't get a close-up of that. You don't want to get too close though.
We'll get her fixed. So same thing on both sides, where they welded that whole patch in, so had to cut it, which no big deal. I gotta replace this whole area anyway, so not that big of a deal. Now I think it's almost 5 o'clock first off, so about done anyway. I think I'll probably just clean the shop and try to come up with a game plan on how to fix the doors next. So we'll start off with there. Take a dip in my pool.
I was gonna bring her my no fishing sign. I seen it yesterday. Well, a few more degrees, we might have to.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. It's freaking hot.
Oh, look, it's all foaming already.
Craig said we need to get a bunch of sand and we can have a sandy beach and charge admission. Yep.
Twinkle our toes in the water.
Bet you it's a little hot.
Oh yeah.
Hot.
Yeah. That's like bath water. Get out the sun.
Cut on the scribe line, or a little bit, you know, so you want to cut it a little bit smaller than the scribe line, then you can grind it to the scribe line, if that makes sense. That's how I do it on everything. So what I'll go ahead and do too is get my snips out and go ahead and round the corners. So the heat path, typically on patch panels on an open spot where you're butt welding, I will round the corners so the heat path does not intersect, if that makes sense. So you're not having heat in this tiny area. You can start all the way and just weld all the way solid, instead of having to do one side turn and then do the other and then do the other. So you can just do it one solid pass. The more start and stops you do, the more panel distortion you're gonna get. So I'll do that real quick. So I changed my mind a little bit. I'm actually gonna move it in just a little bit more, just because there's some damage up here. That's fine. I can add the flange on later, because I gotta still add it on up here where they cut and welded on it to chop it. So what next step is I'm gonna go ahead and scribe this around, and then we'll get it cut out, and then we can start tacking it in. Typically on tacking stuff, I'll work my way around, because as you tack it, it will move. So I'll usually do like 1 or 2 tacks and hammer on it, because you can already see it's not fitting there. Hammer on it, it'll put it back to where it was. Because all you're doing when you're welding is shrinking. So it's just shrinking that area. So you need to hammer and dolly it back out to stretch it back out. So I'll just work my way around to these and get them tacked around. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flatten all these tacks out to where I can get all the excess off, so it'll pretty much be just a flat piece where I can actually hammer and dolly it. I'll do the front and the back on that, because sometimes it does poke through on the back side. Get that all smooth with a little bit of sanding on the roll lock. Now when you're doing that, you don't want to get too far out. You really just want to stay on the weld to keep it from, you know, making it thin around it. You're just trying to hit the weld itself, not around it. So once you get that done, then you can go back and full weld it. There's guys that will weld just an inch at a time, and that works for them, but I prefer just to do a single pass, you know, just one solid pass. It's going to have the less amount of work than just start, stop, start, stop. There's guys, like I said, that can do it like that, just an inch at a time, and they hammer and dolly as they go. I just hate going back and forth. I just want to do it once and then hammer and dolly. It just works better for me. It's all preference. So let's get started. Now that these are pretty much all flat, you know, seamless to where you can't feel anything, we can go ahead and weld them out all the way. So we'll go ahead and weld them out all the way, and then we'll grind the top of it down again, and we'll hammer and dolly around that seam again and just get it flat again. Because as soon as you hit it with heat, it's gonna all move because you're shrinking it. So you have to stretch it back out with the dolly. So we'll start doing that. Put the ground on. Perfect. Let that one cool and do the other one. Go down and top them off. Okay, we got those all grinded down just where the tops of the welds are down, so we're going to flip the door over and do the back side. Mainly just want to get the bulk of it off. Since we're TIG welding it, the TIG weld will actually flatten once you hammer on it. I'll show you here in a minute. It'll be a shiny spot where the hammer is hit on it. It'll actually stretch it back out, the weld. That's mainly why I do TIG, and not MIG, is because of the TIG welding. It's so malleable, you can shape it with a hammer and dolly. So. Always helps to put a sandbag on it just to quieten it down a little bit too. As you hammer on it, that weld will poke back up, so you'll need to regrind it after a little while hammering on it. You can kind of see where the hammer, where it's tall, it'll be kind of shiny. Because if you leave your dollies shiny, it'll put it on the metal, if that makes sense. Whatever's on your dollies, that's why I always try to polish them, will automatically, it'll pound that into the sheet metal. Just really, it makes it easier, also, honestly, to keep them polished too, because you can see where you're kind of going. It'll be shiny wherever you're hitting. Okay, now we're at a point where we have low spots. You can see where the weld is versus where the little panel's a little bit low below it. So probably what we need to do now is go to the back side and just grind the tops of the back welds off, which I can feel they're a little tall. And then after that, we'll hammer on a little bit more, and that should level it out quite a bit more to where there shouldn't be that many, if there is, low spots. They doesn't, I mean, you could wipe over that if you wanted to, but I just like to where it's seamless, if that makes sense. So flip it over. As I start hitting around this and bringing up those lows after we've already ground the back side off, you'll start to see where it gets shiny where I'm hitting. So that's a telltale sign where you're in the right spot if it's getting shiny where you're wanting it to, or where your area is. So if you'll just watch, you can kind of look at it and see as it goes. Kind of see them just popping up. So you just work your way around one more time, and then you'll grind it flat again, just where the weld is, just because it'll, when you're hitting on it, it's bringing that weld up. So then I'll usually come back with a flat disc with 120 and just keep it flat on there, just to even it out from me hammering on it and where the weld might not be all the way down, just to keep it. It's kind of like block sanding, if you can kind of picture it that way. Come back to the DA. now you can see the seam's pretty much gone, but now there's more damage here. So what I'll probably wind up doing is just we'll strip this whole door, get the green off of it, and we can find all of our low spots and just bring them up and then just work our way around. Like I said, there's more low spots over there, so we'll have to work around those. So we got this one done. I'll move on to this one, and we can start messing with little bitty lows everywhere. So start on that next. Well, after lunch yesterday, I had a bunch of customers show up, and went to help Jacob for a minute. So when the customer's here, I just kind of piddled on this and got a little bit farther. Got this one pretty much squared away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish sanding this with DA paper, just to try to get some of this primer off so I can actually see where the dents are. Get that going, and I'm going to try to just knock some of them out for now, and then we can figure out where we go from here. I'd really like to either sandblast or sand the back of this door. It's really got a lot of rust and like old primer kind of stuck to it, so I like to get all that cleaned off before I start shaping it. So let's get this sanded and we'll get this primer off and we'll see where we're at. So the back of this door skin really isn't that bad. It's got like a weird spot around where the hinges were welded. Like, I don't know, it looks like somebody was hitting on it and kind of grinding on it. It's on both sides. It's just right in front of that patch. I could have made a bigger patch, but I really didn't want to, go farther into the door and risk, messing anything up. I probably wouldn't mess anything up. It would just took a lot longer. But I can fix this pretty easy with a shrinking disc. So that's what I'll do right now. I'll show you how a shrinking disc kind of works. It's just really just where people have hit it with a hammer and then I brought it back up. It just overstretched it. That's not a big deal. You can fix it with the shrinking disc. So that's what we'll do. So what I like to do is I'll put marker down. Marker acts as a lubricant, so it doesn't actually gall the metal with the stainless disc, the shrinking disc. So what I like to do is I'll just put it on where I know the high spots are. I know there's one right there. Then what you want to do is you want to get you a bottle of water, because what I'll do is I'll hit it with the shrinking disc. I'll come back with water and a rag and I'll quench it. When you quench it, it's going to draw the metal in and shrink. So we'll start on that. Once you've done it a few times, I usually let it relax for a minute, let the water dry, and then I'll take the marker off because it'll kind of give you a false reading with your hand because you can actually feel the marker. I'll go and check it again and see what's moved and what needs work still. So just give it a minute, check, and then we'll take the marker off and check it again. Got the marker off and I can still feel it needs a little bit of work right in this area. So we'll put some more marker on it, lubrication, and then we'll hit it again. After you've done it a few times, you'll start to see your highs and lows. Your highs will have the marks from the shrinking disc in it, which they'll come out with 120 grit. It's no big deal. It looks bad, but it's really not. Same thing, you'll see the lows. So you'll come back through and just knock all those lows up, and you should be pretty good. You might have to hit it one more time after you knock them up, but it should be pretty close after that anyway, ballpark anyway. So we'll keep doing that, and then we'll get back. I know I got a low spot here. The back of this door is really not bad. It was just the hinge area where they'd welded on it and kind of grinded it pretty hard, but the rest of it's not bad. There's a spot up here, like I was saying, so we'll try to mess with that in a minute. So let's get this done. Okay, so we got it pretty much squared away. Got it for the most part, got it to where I'm happy with it for now. I want to clean, like I was saying, the back of it, just because it's really rusty on the back, and it tears up the dollies really bad when you're hammering on rust. So we'll get that cleaned up. I went ahead and blocked this. You can kind of see got a high spot there, low. There's one more. Oh, it's down here. Low spot there. So low here is more than I thought. Low. So it's kind of all over the place on the front of it. It's probably just been from moving around and being hit on stuff. So I think we're gonna call it good here until I get that back inner all clear, all sanded off, all the rust and everything cleaned off, so it doesn't tear up my dollies. So we'll probably, like I said, we'll probably just sandblast it or sand it. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to think about it some more. But on that, we're gonna call it the end here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Roadster progress and the 3-window progress. So until next time, see ya. Got this thing pretty squared away, pretty straight. I didn't get too crazy on the back, like I was saying, because I gotta mess with the hinge areas where I added the pieces in, just because this flange right here kind of holds it in its own shape, so it's just a little funky. I might have to wind up cutting that flange off and just shaping it to the skin, if that makes sense, or to the inner structure, I'm sorry. The rest of it's pretty good. I got the inside all primed. I'm gonna go ahead on the rest of this. I'll probably just use a spot blaster and just blast it myself, and then I'll have the sandblasting guy come sandblast the inner structures and the frame once I get it all apart. The other door, I started kind of messing with it a little bit. I need to strip the back side, same thing, strip all this primer off, get all the rust out of it, and find the dents, because I'm sure there is some. But we'll start on that after I work on this firewall a little bit. Just want to get a little farther on it, just so I can, once I get ready to put the body on, the firewall is just ready to go. So the doors aren't really needed right now, not until I get the frame done and the firewall kind of placed, because the doors kind of hang off it depends on how the firewall is. So you want to get the firewall right before you hang the doors, so you make sure it all lines up. So let's start on this firewall. Go ahead and start getting this piece of brass out of here and just cleaning up these edges where I had to cut the weld. So there was a weld all the way around, and I had to cut through the tacks and the weld, and it was kind of just a mess. So I'm just going down now and just grinding all this off. I gotta get rid of this awesome piece. And it's not like I like that people work on their cars. It's cool. Like, it's cool to be working on your own little hot rod in your shop, but you know when it's not, you know, when it's not right. Like, just stop if it's not right and get some help. But I'll get it fixed. Well, we're back on hot rods today. Not the same one I was working on, but we come over here to Charlie's just to, I want to do a walk around on his 3-window. This is actually how we met. About, how many years ago was that?
About 15.
Dude, it was a long time ago. It was when I worked at the body shop in Shawnee. They were getting this thing sandblasted, and they said 3-window, and I
that
came
was
running.
Mark Whitman.
Mark Whitman,
He
yeah.
blasted it, and you were hanging out with Mikey.
Yep, I was actually working for Mikey, so.
Yep.
I seen this thing, and I was like blown away. I was like, it's the first 3-window I've ever, or 32 really, I've ever seen in real life was this one. So that kind of started a lot of the madness with the 32s.
What's so crazy is, of all cars, I found this one. I grew up around a 32 3-window, and my uncle had one, and so of all cars, I found this one, and it really brought my uncle and I closer, and met a lot of good people like you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was awesome meeting you guys, and then like meeting Dave, like being your uncle. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff he's done,
and I always wanted one because he sold that car in the early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I was born in the 80s, so I mean, I remember the car, but I didn't get to really ride around in it like we do as 57.
Yeah.
But the 32s, I've always wanted one. It was kind of a fluke that I got this deal because, I mean, these cars have always been out of reach financially for me.
You don't really see them though. Real ones you don't see that much,
Right.
really. So, but yeah, give us a walk around if you would on this thing. What's the plans on it?
Well, man, the plans with this car was always to build it full fendered. That's how Uncle Dave had his. You know, I like the high boys too, but on these 32s, man, I just think that they look so good with the fenders, especially with a narrowed axle.
Yeah.
You know, we want them low.
Got to have that 4-inch drop. Yeah.
So that's always what I wanted, and you know, at the time we knew how to design the chassis and like have it built, but you know, I didn't have the capabilities. I still don't have the capabilities to weld one together.
I hear you.
But we had this chassis put together like we liked it, but the problem is that we found out later, kind of recently actually, is that the chassis was built without being on a jig. So our measurements are all wrong. Our frame rails are an inch off. They're an inch too close in the back. And on the last video, you mentioned that if these cars aren't on the chassis like they're supposed to be,
Everything's wrong.
everything's wrong.
Yeah.
And the problem with this car, when we got it, the sub rails had been torched out. You remember that?
Yeah.
The sub rails were torched out. This car had been channeled at one time, and they actually have wood interior, or not interior, but
Inner structure.
they have a wood inner structure, and the bottom of the wood was actually torched out. So we ordered Brookville sub rails and a flat roadster floor, because the 3-window floors are like the Victoria floors. They're a little bit different.
They got a lot of humps in them, like where the seat pans are. They hump down, and
So the problem right now that we're going to run into is this body is built on a frame that's an inch wrong. So actually what the plan is to do is we're going to take this frame, this whole chassis, and we're just going to put it on that car I bought for my brother.
30 the sedan.
Right,
Yeah.
and we'll put these fenders and these running boards, and we've got the sedan fenders are different.
They are in the back.
Yeah, they're different.
Just
So,
the way they bolt to the body, I guess, probably.
are you gonna run? You're not gonna run fenders on. We'll keep these around.
Yeah.
But the plan is to just go ahead and take the body off, and we're not. I mean, this thing sits right, and I think it'll make a good car for little brother, old Skyler.
Oh, the sedan, yeah. The sedan will be nice and low on this chassis for sure.
But the car will be full fender, and it'll sit like this. This is a 25 liter hood. We got a rowdy motor in this thing. It's a LS2 that's fully built, and it's got a 5-speed. But we're gonna take that out. Uncle Dave got mad at me. He said we can't be doing no LSs and hot rods. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this out, and we've got another 283 and a 4-speed combo. But man, that's the plan. We're just gonna try to put together a nice little traditional hot rod. Not traditional in the aspect of we're going to use parts from 1948 exclusively, but,
Yeah, but
you know what
traditional
I'm saying?
in the sense,
It's not
yeah.
going to be a street rod. It's not going to be a right rod. It's going to be a tasteful, low-sitting 32.
Yeah. Just like that, we like them everything low really. So as long as it sits low, we'll be happy for sure.
Yeah.
The next chassis he's got for it's a real deal 32 Ford. We're gonna put it on the jig at the shop, and then we'll get it straightened out.
So the chassis that he's talking about that I have is actually the original chassis that was on this car.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the original chassis. But they built the cross members and everything out of like square tubing, and it sits up real high, so they actually cut the floor out to fit over the. That's why it's got a flat floor in it, because they just butchered it.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay. But we're gonna cut those frame rails off, and we'll put them in your jig, and then you'll do the old slick 50 on it and get it all TIG welded up.
TIG welded nice.
So he'll put the slick 50 on it, and then
we'll get it right. I got a big. Jacob actually got me a big wall hanger. It's probably about the size of those, honestly, or a little bit smaller. It's a whole blueprint of the frame dimensions. So I can
got a big one?
Yeah, it's on the wall. Do you not see it? Yeah.
No. Oh yeah.
So I got it on there, so I can.
Shout out to Puddin' right
there.
Yeah. He's saving the day.
For sure.
These guys needed one of those when they built this chassis. I don't know what.
That and the tape
I'm not
measure.
gonna name the name.
Yeah.
They're up in Kansas. They got me. Anything to get me inch short.
Inch short. Yeah, it is. I texted him. I was like, "Hey man, will you measure the back of this frame?" And he measured it from here to the other frame horn, and it surely is 39. It's supposed to be 40. So
show him how this trunk's not happy, and you wouldn't think that just the littlest stuff, but that's all we can get.
As high as it goes. So we'll get it fixed. It's gonna be one of them things. Once it's on the other chassis, we can kind of go around and figure out the problematic areas, or where, because we might be able to put it on the other chassis and stuff might fix.
It might. And shout out to Brandon. Our buddy Brandon did a lot of work to get this car to look like it does. Had a lot of good help over the years on this thing. He definitely put a lot of hours in on it. Appreciate you, Brandon. That's my dog.
But we'll get it on the other chassis and get it lined out. Probably pretty close to the same stance, right?
Yeah. I mean, the stance is
killer.
I think that we need to. The rear end could be in like a 1/4 inch pulled in on each side.
Okay, just the fender gap.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything. I want our tires stick, so we can't be looking like a dually.
It does stick out a little ways. Yeah, true.
So, and you know what, Rayson, that's a Maverick rear end. That's the 8-inch. So I'm thinking that
we do a 9-inch.
We're just gonna take this one, junk it, give it to Skylar or whatever, and then, little brother, and then we're going to. I think we're gonna put a 9-inch in there.
Cool. Yeah, it'll be better for sure.
I wanted to do burnouts.
Gotta have the burnout.
Yeah, I want to do burnouts. Yeah. I don't want to just ease her on down to car shows and pull out the lawn chairs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, what's that saying? It says hot rods have toolboxes in the back, street rods have lawn chairs in the back.
Yeah, Bart, one of those crying dolls and the boomer boards.
Dang, you'll get somebody fired up, Charlie. But anyway, this is Charlie's car. I'm excited to see it finally run. I know you've been wanting to see it, and Dave's been wanting to see it run. So
hey, show him on the earlier on this video when you were showing the doors how the body overlaps. Show him right there.
Yeah,
because this is pretty close.
You can kind of tell this car. So I was looking at this earlier too before he said that. You can see how far the door sets in. That one car, I can put my finger in between the inner structure and the door. So I know for a fact that door top on that car that I have at the shop is welded on wrong. That's pretty. It's bad. Like
yeah, I was editing that video and I was like, oh,
it's bad. Yeah.
And once again, Buck didn't do any of that to the car.
Yeah, it's not Buck.
Our buddy Buck bought that car like that.
Yeah.
And you know, those doors are in bad shape. And if you guys are wondering why he's putting all that work into those doors, you just can't get them. Brookville used to make them. You could order a set of new doors. I think they were what?
Like $2,000 or something.
A piece. Yeah, like $4,000.
Yeah.
But their stamping dies got ruined, so those are no longer available. So that's why he's putting all that work in.
To getting it fixed, yeah, because they're hard to find. I have a set from Craig's Extra Set, and I will not let go of them things.
I know.
They are hard to find.
Craig's Closet.
Yeah, good old Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. But anyway, I just want to do a walk around on this thing. Yeah. I hope you guys like it. We really like 32s. That's why me and Charlie get along so well. We love hot rods. You know, it's just something about them. They're just magic, I guess. Yeah.
This is our day off, so we're gonna look at this thing and mess with old Clydester. We got a video coming out soon. I don't know if you guys want to see C10 content, but we're gonna give it to you anyway.
Yep, I'm gonna give you the buffing 101 on this thing, show you guys how to buff old paint out the right way without messing anything up. So we'll do that and kind of give you a rundown of like different pads, different polishing cloths to use, what I like to use, certain stuff. So you got different style of polishing compounds.
It's like different kind of sandpaper almost.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get into it in the video. You can go through it. So
that's coming.
Yeah, next video. So hope you guys enjoyed everything with this video. Really like doing the hot rod stuff. So
thank you for your support, man. It's incredible.
Yep.
Last time I mentioned Australia, man, you see them all commenting.
Yeah.
Australia, New Zealand,
Sweden, all of them.
Ireland,
Crazy.
Mexico. Hey,
neat to see.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
we
thank you
really
very much.
appreciate it.
So, peace.
Have a good one.